Hello, friends. I am Cindy Ola, and I'm actually here at Sacred Garden Yoga. I just wrote a newsletter and a blog about the idea of the skull light. That is spelled S-K-U-L-L, skull light, which is a term that's coined, at least in this book, Women Who Runs with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. And women, if you have not read this book, I would highly recommend it. It is a classic. And gentlemen who are watching this, believe me, the information that we are sharing here today is for everybody. Anyways, I hope that the energy of this Piscean spring vibe that's going on right now is finding you well, even amidst the chaos of all the volatility and revolutionary times that we are in right now. If there's anything that these past few years have taught us, is the fundamental truth of impermanence. And if you've had your safety or your sense of worth or security lay anywhere outside of you, you've probably felt the sting of that. The evolution of our awakening has never been about, or at least I feel it's never been about ridding ourselves of the natural cycles of peace and upheaval that we naturally grow through, just in our own regular lives and also within the world, and how it's always ebbing and flowing. But our practice is really more found in being able to root ourselves in something steadier than just our mere mortality. The sooner we realize that nothing is guaranteed to us and that we are honestly not entitled to anything, then the more we can liberate ourselves to what is present to us right here and right now, which will pretty much always contain a myriad of flavors, from bitter to sweet to sour and salty. And our awakening is assisted when we are willing to turn on our skull light. And I'm going to read something to you from Women Who Runs with the Wolves about what this skull light means. Each woman who retrieves her intuition and yoga-like powers reaches a point where she is tempted to throw them away. For what is the use of seeing and knowing all of these things? This skull light is not forgiving. In its light, the old are elderly, the beautiful lush, the silly foolish, the drunk drunken, the unfaithful are infidels, things which are incredible are noted as miracles. Skull light sees what it sees. It is an internal light and right out in front, shining ahead like a presence that goes a little bit before her and reports back to her what it has found. So the skull light, this idea of the skull light, sees what it sees. And now more than ever, we need to be brave enough to turn on our own skull light, which is informed by our intuition and our instincts. When we do so, we can see beyond the smoke and mirrors or the rose-colored glasses that we can put on, especially as spiritual people, where we only want to see the good and we close off our instincts to see what is truly out in front of us. In yoga, we call it seeing through the lens of the Purusa, and the Purusa is your most authentic spirit. And again, it is informed by your intuition and your instinct. It is true that there are times when you're going to want to throw away the light because it seems easier, that you'll want to go back to sleep. However, once the great work calls you, your sleep, it will always be restless. You will be required to see both the disfigured and the divine and everything that comes in between. But in that light, you'll also be able to see through the hatred and into the sorrow of someone else's heart. It will guide you to great beauty, but it will also inform you when betrayal is brewing. It will show you and tell you when it's time to let things die, but then it will also show the way to new things that are ready to be birthed through you. It can be most difficult when that skull light shines upon yourself, because not only will it reveal your treasures, but also your deepest secrets. It is also in this great light that the unconscious, destructive things about us begins to dissolve, and it won't allow you to carry that into your new life because the skull light is only forgiving to the truth. And as we continue to forge ahead in this new earth, continue to hold that skull light out in front of you to help guide your way. Let it guide you toward truth and away from manipulation. You were born specifically with the resources to get you through these epic times, and don't you ever forget that. Which brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about, which is the false light. And we need our skull light to identify the false light. And there is a lot of that that's going on right now. In my own healing and magical workings, and also in working with other clients, I have encountered this false light on several different occasions, which is why it's so important to have your skull light on and to have your instincts and your intuition intact, especially right now. So you know and you can identify when you are in the presence of the false light. In the fourth dimensional realm, there are beings that can emulate a light solely for the purpose of deception and manipulation. They are tricksters. They have no problem lying, and they can attach themselves to people, especially those who travel between the realms without being careful about what they're doing. I have had clients in which we had to go through the clearing process and unattaching such beings from their energetic field and sending those beings back to where they came from, which is why it's also important that if you are traveling between the veils, that you do so in sacred space and that you anchor yourself in the highest vibrations of light. So in my personal experience, there are some similar characteristics of the false light, which I wanted to share with you now. The light itself is usually pretty flat. And when I've seen it, the color of the light is white, but it's white like a piece of paper kind of white. Whereas the true light, the light of unconditional love, the light of the highest vibrations of light, they are very luminous. It's luminous, it's big, it's bright, and it feels very multidimensional. Whereas the false light feels very flat. It will have a slight luminous quality, but it doesn't go out very far. And it's not very penetrating either. The false light feels very unimpressionable, whereas if you're in contact with the beings of the higher vibrations of light, you can feel them almost penetrate you with that sense of love and feeling comfortable and at ease in their presence. Whereas the false light, it's like when you come across just a regular human person and they're wearing a fake smile and they might be saying the right words, but you know that somewhere deep inside you feel that this person is inauthentic or fake. It's that same feeling when you come across an entity that's projecting out this false light. They might be saying the right words, they might be smiling, but you can feel that they're also hiding something, and it doesn't feel very safe. Another thing about the false light, the one thing that they cannot lie to you about is whether they are there in the presence of unconditional love. So if you're ever uncertain, you can ask any being that shows up in your space, ask them, are you here purely from the place of serving unconditional love? And if you feel any kind of hesitation to that answer, then most likely you are in the presence of a being that's not there to serve you in your highest. Now, I've also come in contact with beings who are not necessarily malicious. But they might have their own agenda. So they might not necessarily feel bad. I mean, there are some energies and some entities and some beings that just they feel yucky, they feel bad. And then there are others that don't necessarily feel bad. You might actually sense a presence of like strength and like a warrior type spirit, but they could also be coming with their own agenda. And so it's always important to ask that question, are you here to serve unconditional love? And if you feel a hesitation, or they don't answer you, or even, they might even say no, then it's best just to simply send them back to where they came from. And these beings of light they have to listen to that, unless you made some kind of contract long ago to have this kind of particular interaction, and that gets more complicated. But for the most part, you can send them away. Nothing can attach to you without your permission. Okay, so just be mindful of the presence, and if they are emitting a light, does the light feel luminous? Does it feel bright? Does it feel multi-dimensional? Does it feel comfortable and safe to be around? Or is the light very flat? And again, it can have a luminous quality, but it won't go out very far. So that's what it will physically look like. And then again, feel into it. Feel and sense and have that skull light of yours bright awake, and notice. I mean, your instinct, your intuition is there to inform you about these things. So I am not here to tell you who's right or who's wrong. There's enough folks out there doing that. My higher work is to help you awaken your instincts so that you can figure it out for yourself, so that you can empower yourself and make your own decisions, and to give you the tools and the resources to do just that. You have the equipment with this beautiful body suit that you're wearing to determine that. So keep your eyes open, keep your feelings intact. And even though you might want to run away sometimes, or you want to throw away that light, or you want to hide, or you want to go back to sleep, remember that you are built for this, that your ancestors were survivors, and so are you. And you're not here just to survive, but you're also here to fully live and to thrive. So stay strong, my friends. The new earth is emerging and you are a part of this. I love you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.